Good morning, everyone. As Una's kindly said, my name's David Riddell. I project manage an innovation support project called Innovate Succeed. So the plan is this morning we're really focused and charged with helping businesses who are doing something a little bit different break through and overcome barriers to innovation. So what I kind of want to run through this morning is cover a little bit of the background to innovation, where businesses struggle, how you might want to think about overcoming some of the challenges, and where you can go and get support. There's a load of support out there, so what support is there, and how can projects like us possibly help? We're going to intersperse it with a few videos and get you guys to do a little bit of work in groups as well, mainly to save you from me droning on for about 45 minutes. So, what is Innovate Succeed? Innovate Succeed is a coaching program for highly innovative businesses to help them kind of look at what their business model is, look at how they might want to change, and overcome some of those barriers to innovation. We're not necessarily focused on the very early stage of pre-revenue businesses. We're funded by Innovate UK along with some European money, so the European Regional Development Fund. And we're really there to help support the UK's scale-up agenda, so helping businesses go to the next stage. By launching new products, launching new services, incorporating new processes within the way that they do things to help them, I guess, break through whatever barriers they may have. Headline is it's 7 days worth of fully funded support, so from experts in the various different areas, and to help you, to help move you on. I actually work for a company called BusinessWest. BusinessWest, some of you may know, runs a variety of different public sector contracts for startups, growing businesses, businesses looking to innovate, export, but also a few campaigns. We run things like the Swindon initiative to help businesses talk to the people in power. And that really just highlights some of the connections. We talk to a lot of people, so myself, my colleagues D. Temple Moulton and Sinclair Brown are here as well, and they can, if we're not the right people to help you, they can direct you hopefully to the people that can help. So, what is innovation? Innovation is one of those really widely used terms, and I think it's useful to start off with a little bit of a definition of. I'll get your thoughts on what is innovation and what are highly innovative businesses out there. Who are the role models for you guys? Has anyone any thoughts on innovation? How to describe it? Or is it just a teeny bit early in the morning for that? Right, the question, the definition that we often use is, I like this one from Lady Barbara Judge about using something new or something known in a different way, different time, or different place. The important bit for me here is it can be, innovating within a company can be using something that already exists. It's just translating it to a new market. Translating it to a new area or using it a little bit differently. I was with a company a while ago, and essentially what they do is they take in a whole load of commercially available platforms, for those of you on the more geeky bent, like Slack and Jive and a variety of different IT systems to allow internal communications. But they can work with SMEs that would never normally, unless they have a high degree of technical knowledge, get access to that. So for me, that's innovation, even though it's using publicly and commercially available platforms. For the Innovate to Succeed project, we really think about it as doing something different or doing something in a different way in order to create value for the customer. And I think for us, that's an important metric. A lot of innovation, or a lot of people view innovation as coming up with new ideas. But unless you can commercialize it, make it commercially available, and actually get this out into the wild so that customers can use it, then it is just generating ideas. And often you see businesses struggling with the fact of they've got a brilliant idea and it's just getting that idea out into the market. Some highly innovative businesses. Any thoughts? We'll try again. Sorry? Yeah, definitely. Some of the typical ones people think of are the disruptors. So Apple, who arguably, whilst not inventing the smartphone, invented the smartphone in a totally different way to the consumer market. Amazon, that disrupted the book selling world, and really the supply chain world and how we purchase products. IKEA, and that's really innovation in product, definitely, but also innovation in process by driving down prices by really looking at how they make stuff, how they package stuff, and how they sell it. Not the first people necessarily that made flat pack furniture, but certainly one of the wider known brands. So there's a lot of them out there, but innovation doesn't necessarily have to be so highly disruptive. A lot of the businesses we work with are thinking more incrementally. So why would a company innovate? Again, any thoughts on why would you in your businesses want to innovate? Yeah, definitely. Filling a gap in the market, spotting an opportunity, seeing something that isn't being done. Any other ideas?
To put themselves apart from the competition.
Definitely. I mean, this is just a small number of ideas that I had over the course of the week and put down on a slide. Definitely, entering a new market. You've spotted an opportunity and you think that your product can be used in a new market, but you need to do something a little bit different. Growth is obviously a key one that people think about, but not always the only one. Sometimes it's about strengthening revenue streams, making sure that you're not just dependent on one or two customers. It could be defending your market position, doing something differently if there's a huge number of new entrants or you're in a crowded market. For companies like Apple, part of it's keeping customers interested, partly keeping ahead of the competition, but unless you have a 6-monthly cycle of rolling out iPhones, you need to continue generating your revenue stream and generating the buzz. A couple in the middle around reducing costs and thus increasing your margin, or reducing waste if you're more environmentally focused. Streamlining processes, making things a little bit easier, making things a little bit more efficient. Keeping ahead of new entrants is quite a key one, particularly if VR is one of those markets at the moment, and my VR colleagues may crucify me for saying this, but where it's still, the technology and how we use it is still in its infancy. So there's a lot of businesses getting into the market, but I think a lot of the challenge for some of them will be keeping that first mover advantage and keeping ahead of the competition. And I guess the bottom right, some people just have a great idea. They think they can see a better way of doing something. They want to change the world. You see this a lot with some of the electric vehicles and people that both have a business technology side to them, but also with an ultimate environmental goal. And I appreciate that there may be some smaller businesses here, and my background in innovation is with both with startups, but with some corporates. We A.T. Kearney have a model called the Innovation House, and this is very much their work. But I think the point of this slide is that innovation is you've got the enabling factors, you've got your IT systems, your production systems, your people, you've got how you actually manage the processes, your project management systems, all of which are important. But I think often it's, even in small micro businesses, it's important to realize the culture, allowing people to come up with ideas and being able to filter those ideas effectively. And it all ties into the strategy, both business strategy and innovation strategy, about where your business is going and how innovation plays a part in that. And really, this is a very, for those in innovation, this is a very coarse model, but it is the, for me certainly, and the way that we look at the world, that it's almost a 4-stage process of coming up with the ideas, testing the ideas, both do they work technically, and do they work with the customers? Speaking to customers early, and actually, is this a marketable product? Is there a business model for it? Doing it, so the project management, the actual making something new. And what we work with customers a lot with is the commercialization aspects. How do you get this new idea? So customers are broadly interested. You've got something you think is going to work. How do you get it into the market, either on a business to consumer basis, because it's you have to sell it, or as some of the businesses we work with are actually trying to sell into fairly complex markets like the NHS or the defence industry or highly regulated markets. So how do we go about doing this? Or sorry, what are some of the challenges? Typically, some of the challenges, these are an idea of some of the challenges that we find customers face. Money is always a challenge, either private funding, investor funding, or grant funding. Certainly, our grant funding advisors are some of the busier experts that we have. Looking at the innovation culture, the filtering and selection aspects, and building an innovation process into your business, and building it proactively, talking to customers, and how do you identify and sift ideas. All the processes around that. Sales and marketing, both from actually, this is how I want to sell the product, this is how I'm going to describe it, but also understanding who your markets are, testing things with customers, going out to them early. I won't talk about it today, but certainly check out the minimum viable product approach of building something early, testing it with the customers, incorporating feedback, and moving on and taking that further. Intellectual property, again, very important. For some businesses, it's not right for everyone, both including trademarks, design rights, but also patents, if that's something that's worth looking at for you. Skills, making sure you have the right people now and in the future. Finding partners to work with can be a challenge, and there are organizations like Enterprise Europe Network and the knowledge transfer networks that are out there to help you find SME and academic partners. And I think for some companies, it's the failing early approach. The history of innovation is littered with a number of different businesses where they have developed a product, taken it to market, and it's just not been quite right. So knowing when enough is enough. So what are some tools that we use? I'm conscious of time, and I'm conscious we started a few minutes late, but I want to make sure you guys have plenty of time to ask questions and discuss things with us afterwards. Business Model Canvas is, if you've not seen it before, is a tool that's developed by a guy called Alexander Osterwalder. He founded a business. It's the current tool of choice of business schools worldwide, used by some pretty big companies like 3M and others as well. What the Business Model Canvas is, was initially aimed at more startups, but some big companies are using it. I appreciate the slides aren't very clear, but they will be available afterwards if you want them, so you don't have to copy everything down. Really what it is, it's a way of, on a single sheet, describing your business model. Who your customers are, the sort of relationships you have with them. Are you a valued supplier? Are you just a commodity supplier? What are your channels? How do you talk to them? How do you get to them? Are you going to stock in other retailers? Are you going to sell through your own website? Are you going to generate interest through a Kickstarter campaign, for example? What are your underlying revenue streams? How do you make your money? Is it just sales? Is it sales plus support? Is there a licensing fee involved? What are your different revenue streams? At the center of it, and we'll come on to that on the next slide, is what's your value proposition? For your various different customers, what do you do that's different? How do you offer value to your customers? So the right side is very much customer focused. The left-hand side is very much focused on your business. What are your key resources? What do you need to have? Often for innovation projects, it's cash, but it can be people, it could be patents, it could be a key resource, could be a license for this bit of technology. What are the key activities? And key activities and key partners on the left-hand side are very interlinked. What is it that you need to be good at? But equally, what is it that you can buy from someone else? You can partner for someone else. I'm not necessarily talking about your key partner being your accountant, but it's the people without whom your business model just wouldn't work. And finally, underlying it is what's your cost structure? How much do you spend on, how much do you need to invest on capital equipment, salaries? How does it all go together? It's a really good tool and a simple tool for business planning amongst senior teams to allow them to, and we'll be doing this very shortly, stick up some post-it notes and play about with what a business model is, particularly when you're developing a new product and you're working out what your options might be. I won't play the video for the sake of completeness. There's a really good video and the link's included that describes that in a little bit more detail. What we're going to concentrate on today is the value proposition canvas that, again, developed by Alexander Osterwalder, and it's a way of looking at what the value proposition is to customers. On the right-hand side, what's the customer trying to do? What is their job? What are they trying to accomplish? What are the pains when they're trying to undertake that job? What are the things that they have to overcome in order to do the thing they're trying to do, that they have to overcome that are annoying to them? What are the gains? What are the delighters? What are the things that they go, oh, that's neat. I'm glad. It doesn't necessarily overcome a pain, but it's something that's just that little bit different that they go, that pleases them. And the left-hand side is your new product. What are the products and services that you think you're going to offer, and how do they map across to the pains and gains of the customer? To really think about how your service matches against what they're trying to do. When it fits together, it allows you to see how well your solution maps to what the customer is trying to do. And we'll give you an idea of what you need to change, what perhaps you need to adapt, what you need to do differently in order to make sure that you meet the customer needs. Again, there's another video to describe that. But what I want to quickly have a look at is around this idea of what the customer job is. And it's really a different way of looking at what the customer is trying to achieve and how you can help it.
Hi, my name's Clay Christensen. I'm a professor at the Harvard Business School. I brought with me a set of puzzles, all related to innovation. We decided that the way we teach marketing is at the core of what makes motivation difficult to achieve. The most helpful way we've thought of it so far is that we actually hire products to do things for us. And understanding what job we have to do in our lives for which we would hire a product is really the key to cracking this problem of motivating customers to buy what we're offering. So I wanted just to tell you a story about a project we did for one of the big fast food restaurants. They were trying to goose up the sales of their milkshakes. They had just studied this problem up the gazoo. They brought in customers who fit the profile of the quintessential milkshake consumer. And they'd give them samples and ask, could you tell us how we can improve our milkshakes so you'd buy more of them? Do you want it chocolatey or cheaper, chunky or chewier? They get very clear feedback. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions, and it had no impact on sales or profits whatsoever. So one of our colleagues went in with a different question on his mind, and that was, I wonder what job arises in people's lives that cause them to come to this restaurant to hire a milkshake. So we stood in a restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful data. What time did they buy these milkshakes? What were they wearing? Were they alone? Did they buy other food with it? Did they eat it in the restaurant or drive off with it? It turned out that nearly half of the milkshakes were sold before 8 o'clock in the morning. The people who bought them were always alone. It was the only thing they bought, and they all got in the car and drove off with it. So to figure out what job they were trying to hire it to do, we came back the next day and stood outside the restaurant so we could confront these folks as they left, milkshake in hand. And in language that they could understand, we essentially asked, excuse me please, but I got to sort this puzzle out. What job were you trying to do for yourself that caused you to come here and hire that milkshake? And they'd struggle to answer, so we'd then help them by asking other questions like, well, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire? And then as we put all of their answers together, it became clear that they all had the same job to do in the morning, and that is they had a long and boring drive to work. And they just needed something to do while they drove to keep the commute interesting. One hand had to be on the wheel, but somebody had given them another hand and there wasn't anything in it. And they just needed something to do while they drove. They weren't hungry yet, but they knew they'd be hungry by 10 o'clock. So they also wanted something that would just pull down there and stay for their morning. Good question. What do I hire when I do this job? You know, I've never framed the question that way before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in 3 minutes, you're hungry by 7:30. If you promise not to tell my wife, I probably hire donuts twice a week, but they don't do it well either. They're gone fast, they crumb all over my clothes, they get my fingers gooey. Sometimes I hire bagels, but as you know, they're so dry and tasteless. Then I have to steer the car with my knees while I'm putting jam on them, and then if the phone rings, we got a crisis. I remember I hired a Snickers bar once, but I felt so guilty I've never hired Snickers again. Let me tell you, when I come here and hire this milkshake, it is so viscous that it easily takes me 20 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. All I know is I'm full all morning and it fits right here in my cup holder. Well, it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors, which in the customer's minds are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars, coffee, and so on. But I hope you can see how, if you understand the job, how to improve the product becomes just obvious.
It's quite central to the value proposition canvas about actually thinking and understanding what your customer is trying to do, what your customer is trying to achieve, and how it fits in with your competitors. An example I quite often use is Harley-Davidson. Who do you think Harley-Davidsons consider their biggest competitors to be? Or when they're looking at the customer job? Any ideas? Interestingly, it's not other motorcycle manufacturers. It's things like swimming pools, personal trainers, around people that have got to that stage in their life and they just want either something nice, a treat for themselves, or to show off that they've reached that point in their life. So it's an interesting way of thinking about who your competitors are. How many of you are aware of these things? Yep, it's a thing called an Amazon Dash button. You can get a little button that connects to your Amazon Prime account that you stick on your washing machine, and when you run out of aerial tablets, you hit the button, and next day Amazon will deliver you some. And the reason I like this one is because it's quite a Marmite product. Some people really get it. Some people just think it's the height of utter laziness. So what we want to do is to split you into groups, to take about 10 minutes to kind of assess what you think the value proposition would be from the customer perspective. What I have is, again, a little video to explain it in Amazon's words, a little bit more about what this does. A minute and a half, and Dee and Sinclair can get everything ready as we do it, and we can start thinking about groups.
Don't let running out ruin your rhythm. Introducing the new Amazon Dash button, a simple way to reorder your daily essentials. Available to Prime members, the Dash button is easy to set up, and when you're running low, simply push the button. Get an order alert on your phone, so it's easy to cancel if you change your mind. And with Prime delivery, your products are delivered straight to your door, keeping your household running, not running out. Prime members, get your Amazon Dash button today.
It's one of those products, when it first came out, I thought, it's ridiculous. But you could get up to 65 products on it, including your cat food, toilet roll, electric toothbrush heads. And when I started thinking about it, probably not any good for me because I live just across the road from a 24-hour Tesco, so it's not ideal. But for things like my electric toothbrush heads, if I lived out in the country, somewhere like this, electric toothbrush heads run out, I have to remember to either to go to Boots or wherever your chemist is. I'd probably forget, and then in 2 months later end up with one that sort of looks a little bit like that. If I could do it, brushing my teeth, hit the button, it arrives next day. It's like, works for some people, doesn't work for others. And that was kind of the point. It's to actually think about putting yourself in your customer's shoes and what the customer's actually trying to do. Especially a lot of companies I've worked with at the moment, recently it's been that the customer wants to appear forward-thinking and cool because they're a young, up-and-coming, they're trying to sell to young, up-and-coming people in an industry that want to be ahead of that trend. again, in the slides, there's a YouTube video, and the guys that strategize this, so Alexander Osterwalder and the guys, have been through the business model of the dash button if you're so interested. So, what's available and how can we help? As I said, the three of us work on a project called Innovate to Succeed. Innovate UK and ERDF initiative to look at how we can support innovative businesses in our case, Swindon and Wiltshire and Devon and Somerset. We're one of 13, or we're 2 of 13 projects running across the UK. And what is it? It's up to 7 days worth of fully funded support to help you understand innovation and understand how you can build innovation or strengthen the innovation within your company. Help you on the road and help you thinking and developing new products and services. Find or think about how you structure yourself in order to get or where to go to find new sources of finance. So be that private investment, banks, the plethora of schemes that are out there, but also grants. Work with you to look at your new markets and how you target those and how you understand them and how you get into them. Look at internal processes, your manufacturing processes, how you streamline things, and really all with the idea of making sure that you have the expertise to continue doing this going forward. That's really what it is. We're targeted at SMEs, so companies that are under 250 employees and under 50 million euros turnover, which is pretty big. And really, you have to have a sustainable business model. You have to be doing something. You have to want to innovate. You need to want to develop new products and services that aren't business as usual, that aren't just something that someone else is doing. And what it really looks like is, really comes in 4 stages. The first part is we will work with you to understand what your barriers are. We use a tool called Growth Mapper and understand the areas where you want to focus on. We run a foundation module with you, so a day's module with the senior team, a workshop focused on the business model canvas and the value proposition canvas, and other tools that we use depending on what you need. The idea being to help the senior team take a step back and think about their business, think about their direction, think about new products, how it fits in, and really start to look at how they want to build a capability to innovate, to internationalize, to do new things, and for many businesses to grow. From that, one of our advisors will write an action plan and look at what support that we can put in. We work with a dozen part-time advisors who are experts in various different areas like sales and marketing strategy, commercial strategy, accessing grant funding. We have IP capability. We have people that can look at you around innovation and how you how you speak to your customers and proactively target new products. Lean business, manufacturing processes, how you might want to streamline what you do. And I'm sure I've forgotten some, but that gives you an idea. Looking at investor finance, there's a pretty big scope for what we can look at, and it's all focused around leaving a legacy of increased understanding and increased awareness in yourselves. We're not going to do it for you. We're not going to have somebody go out and do your digital marketing campaign, but what we will do is have someone work with you to understand your company and how digital marketing works for you, and to then equip you to do that by yourself. The same with grant funding. We're not going to write a bid for you, but we'll let you know about what to look for and where to go. People like it. We've worked with up to 60 businesses so far, all of whom are at various stages, and really helping them develop. Ones that have won big international orders, that have changed their development strategy, employed new staff in order to build their capability and the capacity for doing new stuff. And really, at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Dee, Sinclair and myself are here, so we're happy to talk with anyone about your company, what you might want to do, what direction you might want to take, and how we, or perhaps some of our partner organisations and partner programmes can help you with this. So please do come and have a chat to us. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks for bearing with me.